She typed the wrong number, her hands trembling, begging for formula money for her baby, and sent it to a billionaire CEO who could change her life forever. Would he help, or turn away? Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to Ms. Love Stories channel, the place where love, drama, and unforgettable moments come alive. I'm so thrilled you're here, ready to dive into stories that will make your heart race, bring tears, and leave you believing in the power of love. Before we begin, I want to get to know all of you. Comment below and tell me where you're watching from, because in the next video, I'll give a special shout out to some of you amazing viewers from around the world. I can't wait to see how far our love story family reaches. Today's shout out goes to Pauline Silcock from Swindon, UK. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell, so you never miss a single emotional journey. Get ready to feel, laugh, cry, and fall in love all over again, because every story we share here is for you. Now, the story begins. Rose. Lucy adjusted the thin blanket around her baby, shivering slightly as the night chill crept through the cracks in the apartment window. Outside, the city buzzed with neon lights, car horns, and the hum of distant life, but inside, the small room felt suffocating. Every penny mattered. Every decision carried weight. Her baby's cries pierced the quiet, echoing her own anxiety. She held him closer, rocking gently, her mind racing. Her fingers trembled as she picked up her phone. This device wasn't just a phone. It was hope and humiliation bundled together. Her heart pounded. Asking for help had never come naturally to her. But desperation has a way of stripping pride away. She typed quickly. I'm so sorry to bother you. I need help buying formula for my baby. Her thumb hovered over send, then pressed it without a second thought. She didn't recognize the number. It didn't belong to anyone in her life. Most likely no one would respond. Meanwhile, high above the city, in a glass and steel skyscraper, Raphael leaned back in his sleek leather chair. His life was one of precision. Meetings, calls, strategic decisions worth millions. Every action was calculated. Every smile measured. Yet beneath the suit and power, he carried a quiet emptiness. Wealth and success could never fill the hollow loneliness he felt each night. A notification interrupted his concentration. An unfamiliar number. Curiosity made him open it. I'm so sorry to bother you. I need help buying formula for my baby. Raphael leaned back, surprised by the raw vulnerability of the message. No protocols, no filter. Just human need laid bare. His first instinct was to ignore it, to return to spreadsheets and boardroom pressures. But something in those words stopped him. Something in that desperation tugged at a part of him he rarely acknowledged. Lucy had no idea who would read her message. She didn't know that on the other end, the man reading it was surrounded by luxury, yet imprisoned by solitude. Two worlds, so different, were about to intersect over a simple text. As Lucy tidied the tiny kitchen, listening to her baby whimper and hoping the night would pass quietly, Raphael began to type a response. His fingers hovered, careful, deliberate, as if each word could tip the balance of someone's life. Neither of them knew it yet, but their worlds were on the verge of colliding in a way that would change both forever. Lucy sighed, exhausted. The city outside remained indifferent to her struggle. Yet inside, a spark of hope flickered. A small, fragile possibility that a stranger might change everything. It was a beginning, suspended between despair and possibility. Two hearts, each with their own scars and fears, about to find a connection neither expected. Speech balloon. If you were Lucy, would you text a stranger for help? Comment below what you'd do. Lucy sat on the edge of her worn sofa, cradling her baby close. The small apartment smelled faintly of powdered formula and detergent. The hum of the refrigerator filling the silent gaps between her baby's soft whimpers. Every night was a battle against exhaustion, worry, and shame. She glanced at the pile of bills on the counter, each envelope a reminder of her struggle. A single mother, alone, trying desperately to make ends meet. She picked up her phone, staring at the contacts list, her thumb hovering over numbers she didn't even know. She had never asked for help before. Pride had kept her silent for too long. But the gnawing hunger in her baby's tummy, the way his tiny hands grasped hers, stripped away all hesitation. Just one message, just one, she whispered to herself. Her fingers trembled as she typed. I'm so sorry to bother you. I need help buying formula for my baby. She paused, rereading the words. Her heart pounded. She couldn't erase them. Sending the message was a leap into the unknown. Pressing send felt like stepping off a cliff into a storm she couldn't control. Across the city, in a high-rise penthouse overlooking the glittering skyline, Raphael leaned back in his chair. His office was sleek, modern, almost sterile. Glass walls reflected the night lights, and the faint hum of the air conditioning was the only sound. His life was meticulously controlled. Every meeting, every call, every decision a chess move in a game only he fully understood. Yet as he reviewed his calendar, a hollow ache gnawed at him. Behind the wealth, power, and control, there was emptiness. A loneliness that no luxury could fill. A notification blinked on his phone. An unfamiliar number. Curious, he opened it. I'm so sorry to bother you. I need help buying formula for my baby. He leaned back, his mind briefly refusing to process it. No protocol, no filter, no business etiquette, just raw vulnerability. His first instinct was to ignore it. His life was structured, predictable. He wasn't supposed to be pulled into the messy chaos of someone else's struggle. But something in those words stopped him cold. Something in the desperation resonated with a part of him he rarely acknowledged. Lucy's phone buzzed again, and she almost didn't dare to look. But when she did, her heart leapt. Could this be real? A billionaire responding to her desperate plea? Her fingers shook as she typed back, fear and hope warring inside her. I need $150 for formula this week. I don't know how else to get it. Thank you for even reading this. Raphael read the message slowly. $150. Trivial to him. Monumental to her. He imagined the sleepless nights, the tiny apartment, the soft cries of a child who depended entirely on her. For the first time in a long time, he felt a surge of something beyond obligation. Compassion, empathy, a rare, stirring connection. He typed back carefully, his words deliberate. It's done. I hope this helps a little. You're doing an incredible job. Lucy's hands shook as the notification confirmed the transfer. Tears blurred her vision. She sank into her chair, holding her baby closer than ever, whispering softly. Someone wants to help us. Someone actually cares. Relief washed over her, mingled with disbelief. It was more than money. It was recognition, humanity, a bridge from despair to hope. For Raphael, the act felt surprisingly significant. It wasn't about the money. It was about reaching out, making a tangible difference, feeling a spark of purpose beyond the rigid structure of his life. As he gazed out over the city skyline, lights flickering like distant stars, he felt a subtle shift in the monotony of wealth and routine. A quiet reminder that connection, not power, could touch the soul. Hours passed. Lucy prepared the small bottle of formula, her baby feeding in her arms. She marveled at the kindness of a stranger, feeling a strange mix of gratitude and curiosity. Who was this man? Why did he care? She wondered if fate had intervened, placing them in each other's paths for reasons beyond her understanding. High above, Raphael checked his phone again. He reread her message, felt the weight of her vulnerability, and realized something remarkable. He wanted to know her story. Not out of obligation, not out of curiosity, but out of a deep, inexplicable need to connect, to see the human being behind the struggle. The night stretched on, quiet and contemplative. The city slept unaware, indifferent to the small miracle that had just occurred. A poor single mom and a lonely billionaire, separated by miles, yet drawn together by a single act of communication. The connection was fragile, tentative, and entirely unexpected. But it was enough. Enough to begin a journey neither of them could yet imagine. A journey that would challenge, heal, and transform them both. Lucy drifted off to sleep with her baby cradled in her arms, the formula bottle beside her, a symbol of hope and survival. Raphael returned to his work, yet he found his thoughts drifting to the tiny apartment, the trembling hands, the baby's soft cries. Something had shifted, quietly, irreversibly. A story had begun, and neither would ever be the same. If you were Raphael, would you respond or ignore the message? Share your choice. The next morning, Lucy woke to the soft glow of sunrise filtering through the thin curtains of her small apartment. The room smelled faintly of powdered formula, and the faint aroma of reheated oatmeal she had prepared for breakfast. Her baby stirred in her arms, tiny fists curling around her fingers. Relief washed over her as she realized she had formula for the week, a small miracle made possible by a stranger. Yet beneath that relief, an undercurrent of anxiety gnawed at her. Who was this man? Why would he care about someone like her? Her phone buzzed again. Lucy's heart jumped. She hesitated, almost afraid to look. But the name of the mysterious number flashed on the screen, Raphael. She blinked, incredulous. Could this really be real? A billionaire responding personally to a desperate message? Her fingers shook as she opened the text. Good morning, Lucy. I just wanted to make sure everything arrived safely. How is your little one? Her chest tightened. Concern. Genuineness. Not a cold, calculated response, but a simple, human question. Her mind raced. How does someone like him even know me exists? Could she trust this kindness? Pride and fear battled hope within her. She typed back slowly, her fingers hesitant. He's fine thanks to you. I don't know how to explain. You've helped more than just buying formula. You've given me hope. Raphael read her reply and felt a strange tug in his chest. Hope. She had used the word hope. And suddenly he realized just how much he had forgotten what it felt like to genuinely connect with someone beyond status and wealth. Her gratitude was unpolished, raw, and honest. For the first time in years, he felt an urge that had nothing to do with business strategy or reputation. He wanted to know her story, not out of obligation, but because he was drawn to her humanity. He typed again. I'm glad he's okay. You're doing an incredible job, Lucy. Honestly, I'd like to help more if you'll let me. Not just money, anything I can. Lucy's hands trembled as she read the message. Her chest tightened, a mix of fear, pride, and disbelief. This was more than just assistance. It was recognition, empathy, and strangely, connection. Could she allow herself to trust this man? Could she accept more than just the immediate help? Deep down, she felt a flicker of curiosity, even hope, a dangerous, intoxicating emotion she hadn't indulged in for years. She hesitated. What does he want? Why me? The questions ran through her mind, but beneath the worry, a fragile excitement began to bloom. She typed cautiously. I don't know how to say this, but thank you. I don't know anyone who would care like this. You've changed our week already. Raphael read her message, and an unfamiliar warmth spread across his chest. Change. Impact. Connection. His hands hovered over the keyboard, unsure what to say next. For someone who controlled everything with precision, uncertainty was unsettling. Yet it felt alive. He wanted to see her. Not for recognition, not for appearances, not for any transaction, but to witness the person behind the struggle, the mother holding her child with courage and love. Then, almost impulsively, he sent another message. Lucy, I know this may seem sudden, but I'd like to meet you. Just for a few minutes. No strings attached. I want to meet the woman who is doing so much with so little. Lucy stared at the screen frozen. Panic and curiosity warred inside her. Meeting a billionaire? Alone? What if it was dangerous? What if it was a mistake? Her mind raced with warnings, but somewhere deep inside hope whispered, maybe this is fate. Maybe this is a chance for something life-changing. She stared at the phone for a long moment before replying. I don't know if that's a good idea. But maybe. Just a few minutes. Her words trembled on the screen, echoing the uncertainty and longing inside her heart. Raphael, on the other side, read her reply and exhaled. Relief and anticipation mingled in his chest. The unknown stretched ahead like a dark ocean. But he felt the pull of curiosity, empathy, and something more. An unspoken desire to witness courage, vulnerability, and the raw beauty of someone fighting against life's odds. Hours passed slowly. Lucy fed her baby, watched him sleep, and tried to prepare herself for what could come. Every shadow in her apartment felt heavier, every sound amplified. The city outside roared indifferently, unaware of the fragile bridge forming between two very different lives. Raphael walked across his penthouse, hands brushing against sleek glass and steel. his mind replaying her messages over and over. Each word from her was a ripple in his controlled, predictable life. Something about her simplicity, courage, and vulnerability unsettled him in the most exhilarating way. He realized he wanted more than just a brief interaction. He wanted to see her, understand her, maybe even protect her. As night fell, both of them lay awake, hearts restless. Lucy whispered to her sleeping child, Maybe someone really does care about us." And high above, Raphael stared at the glittering skyline, a quiet anticipation building in his chest. Two hearts, separated by miles, bound by a fragile connection, were about to collide in a way neither could yet imagine. Raphael felt the resistance too. He tried to focus on work, on meetings, on investments, but every email, every spreadsheet, every decision felt meaningless. He couldn't stop thinking about her. He wondered if she was safe, if she doubted him, if she would even agree to meet. The tension in him grew. For the first time in his life he felt powerless, not over money, not over business, but over something profoundly human. The fragile trust of another soul. Late that evening the phone buzzed. A message from Lucy. "I'm still not sure. I don't know if I can do this." Raphael stared at the words, his chest tightening. He understood her hesitation, but part of him ached. He typed slowly, choosing each word carefully. "I understand. I don't want to pressure you. I just want you to know. I care. I just want to meet the person behind the messages. Nothing more. Nothing less." Lucy read his message and felt a pang of something she couldn't identify. Comfort, sincerity, maybe even connection. She wanted to reply immediately, to say yes, to step forward despite fear. But the weight of years of struggle, of isolation, of pride held her back. She didn't trust easily. And yet, for the first time in years, she felt the stirrings of something she thought had been buried. Hope. That night both lay awake. Lucy held her baby, feeling the pull of possibility but terrified of the unknown. Raphael stared at the city skyline, a restless ache in his chest, knowing the bridge between them had been built, but unsure if it could withstand fear, doubt, and hesitation. Resistance had set in. Fear, pride, and uncertainty held them apart, but the connection, the spark, was undeniable. Neither could ignore it, and neither would remain untouched. The stage was set for an eventual collision, emotional, unpredictable, and life-changing. They were poised on the edge, teetering between hesitation and courage, each heartbeat echoing the tension that would soon bring them together. Speech balloon. Would you take the risk Lucy is facing, or let fear hold you back? Comment your choice below. The day arrived suddenly, like a wave breaking over the fragile walls Lucy had built around herself. She had reluctantly agreed to meet Raphael, not in a grand hotel or luxurious office, but at a quiet cafe halfway between her apartment and his office. Somewhere neutral, somewhere ordinary. Somewhere she could leave if fear became too heavy to bear. The cafe smelled of roasted coffee beans, pastries fresh from the oven, and the faint tang of city air drifting through the open windows. Lucy sat at a small table, her hands wrapped around a steaming cup of tea, nerves tightening her chest. Her baby, left in the care of a trusted neighbor for the first time, seemed like a distant weight pressing against her thoughts. Every rustle, every step outside the cafe felt amplified. What if he judges me? What if he sees me and thinks what? She wondered, her mind spinning with 100 what-ifs. She smoothed her hair, adjusted her worn jacket, and tried to breathe, but anticipation and fear twisted together like barbed wire in her stomach. Across the street, Raphael stepped out of his car, pausing for a moment to survey the unassuming cafe. No grand gesture, no display of wealth, just the quiet anticipation of a meeting he wasn't sure he was ready for. He adjusted his tie, feeling the unfamiliar flutter of nervousness. He wasn't used to uncertainty, but somehow, this meeting mattered more than any business deal, any high-stakes negotiation. Lucy spotted him first. The man from her phone, the man who had made her week possible, the man whose messages had stirred hope and trepidation in equal measure. He wasn't intimidating in appearance. He was calm, measured, a quiet authority in the way he moved. Yet seeing him in person made her chest tighten. This was real. This was happening. Raphael's eyes found her immediately. She was smaller than he imagined, delicate but with an unspoken strength that radiated from the way she held herself even as her hands fidgeted with the cup. He felt a strange pang, a protective instinct he hadn't anticipated. For a long moment neither spoke. Words seemed unnecessary, even dangerous. The air between them was thick with tension, anticipation, and unspoken questions. Finally, Lucy spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. I'm Lucy. Raphael smiled softly, lowering himself into the chair opposite her. Raphael. It's good to meet you. The simplicity of the exchange belied the storm of emotion coursing beneath the surface. For both, every detail, the sound of the other's voice, the way their eyes flickered with curiosity, the subtle tremor in Lucy's hands, spoke volumes. Minutes passed. They sipped coffee awkwardly, both struggling to navigate the new and fragile territory between them. Lucy wanted to ask questions, about him, about why he cared, about how someone like him could exist in a world so different from hers. But the words stuck in her throat. Fear and pride formed invisible barriers around her. Raphael, sensing her hesitation, decided to break the silence gently. I don't want this to be uncomfortable. I just wanted to see you to make sure you're okay. That's all. Lucy nodded, her throat tight. I never expected someone to care like this. Honestly, it's been a long time since anyone has, she admitted, her voice trembling. Raphael leaned back, his gaze softening. You've been handling everything on your own. That's remarkable, Lucy. I don't say that lightly. For a moment, the weight of their respective lives hung between them. Two people from opposite worlds, drawn together by a single simple act of kindness, now sitting face to face, each trying to reconcile vulnerability with pride, gratitude with fear. The cafe hummed quietly around them. Footsteps, murmured conversations, clinking cups. But inside their small corner, time seemed suspended. Each glance, each hesitant smile, each shared breath carried meaning. Neither knew what to say next, yet neither could walk away. Finally, Lucy took a deep breath, her hands tightening around her cup. I thank you. Not just for the money, but for noticing me. For seeing me, she whispered. Raphael's lips curved into a gentle smile, and he reached out, lightly touching her hand. The contact was fleeting, yet electric, carrying a warmth and reassurance neither had expected. You're not alone anymore, he said softly. Her eyes met his, and for the first time in months, maybe years, Lucy felt a flicker of trust. A fragile, tentative connection, yet undeniable. Speech balloon. Have you ever felt a connection like this with a stranger? Comment your experience below. The quiet of the cafe was a thin veil over the storm that had been brewing in both their hearts. After the first awkward minutes, the conversation settled into a fragile rhythm, like a tentative dance between two people who had never met, but whose lives were already entwined. Raphael sipped his coffee, watching Lucy, noticing the faint lines of worry etched on her young face and the fierce determination in her eyes. You seem stronger than anyone I've ever met, he said softly, breaking a pause. Lucy glanced at him, startled by the observation. Strength wasn't something she often acknowledged in herself. Every day, she fought invisible battles, stretching every dollar, soothing her baby's cries, managing her fragile pride. She swallowed hard. Strong maybe, she admitted. But sometimes it's just survival. Raphael nodded, understanding more than she knew. I get that. I've had my own struggles, just in a different way. But sometimes, it feels like no matter how much you have, there's still this emptiness that wealth can't fill, he said quietly, his gaze dropping to the table. Lucy's brow furrowed slightly. Emptiness? She asked, curiosity peeking through caution. He looked up, meeting her eyes for the first time fully. I grew up thinking that control was everything. Money, success, reputation. But it never taught me how to connect. Or how to trust. Or how to let someone in. Until maybe now. Lucy shifted in her seat, surprised by the vulnerability. For all his power and wealth, he seemed human, fragile even. Her heart softened. I get that, she said slowly. I've been alone for a long time. Being a single mom, it's hard. People see you as invisible or weak. And you just have to keep going. But it's lonely. Sometimes I wonder if anyone would notice if I just disappeared for a day. Raphael's chest tightened at her words. He could see the weight she carried in her posture, in the slight slump of her shoulders, in the trembling edge of her voice. He wanted to reach across the table and tell her she wasn't alone, but he waited, allowing her to share on her own terms. Lucy, I can't imagine how hard that must be, he said softly. I've never felt helpless like that. But I want you to know I see you. All of you. And I don't just mean the struggle. I mean you. The courage. The love you have for your baby. That's remarkable. Lucy felt a lump in her throat. Tears threatened, but she swallowed them, feeling something she hadn't in years, recognition. Someone actually saw her. Not her struggles, not her poverty, not the failures she feared, but her heart. I thank you, she whispered. Really? No one's ever said that to me before. Raphael's gaze softened, a faint smile tugging at the corner of his lips. And I thank you, because you've reminded me that life isn't just about control, money, or plans. Sometimes, it's about connection. And you unknowingly gave me that. A pause fell between them, heavy and intimate. Both had shared pieces of themselves they rarely revealed to anyone. Both had acknowledged wounds that life had left raw and unhealed. And in that quiet, a fragile trust began to form. Lucy looked down at her hands, then back at Raphael. There's more to me than this struggle. My baby isn't my only burden. My family. They left me when I needed them most. No one helped, no one cared. And that's why I try to do everything myself. Raphael nodded, understanding the weight of abandonment, the lingering ache of isolation. I know that feeling, he admitted. I've lost people too in my own way. And it makes you wary, cautious. But it also makes the connection you finally allow more meaningful. Lucy's eyes glistened. She had been careful all her life not to trust, not to lean on anyone. But sitting across from Raphael, listening to his honesty, she felt something she hadn't dared feel in years. Safety. A small, fragile safety that maybe, just maybe, could grow into trust. I think I understand, she said finally. But it's scary. To let someone see you. To be vulnerable. Yes, Raphael said quietly. It's terrifying. But sometimes vulnerability is the only way to truly connect. And I want to connect with you, Lucy. Not just because I can help, but because I want to know you. All of you. For weeks, Lucy and Raphael had carefully navigated the fragile territory of their growing connection. Their messages had become a lifeline. Their meetings a sanctuary from the pressures of their separate worlds. But life, as it often does, refuses to pause for delicate emotions. It began with an unexpected text. Raphael, distracted by back-to-back meetings, hadn't noticed a minor error in a company email. A competitor had intercepted the message and used it to cast doubt on his integrity in the press. Headlines screamed about billionaire CEO under scrutiny, and secret meetings with unknown woman raise questions. Lucy, scrolling through social media while waiting at home for her baby's nap, froze. The images accompanying the story, blurred yet unmistakably showing Raphael with a woman, left her heart sinking. Is he hiding something from me? Or is this someone else? Panic spiraled into anger and fear. How could she trust him now when the world painted him in shadows? Meanwhile, Raphael's phone buzzed incessantly. Calls from board members, lawyers, and aides, all demanding explanations. In the chaos, he saw Lucy's last message from that morning. I don't understand. Are you really who I thought you were? His chest tightened. He realized the media storm had reached her before he could explain. He wanted to call, to rush to her, to reassure her. But every second he hesitated, the damage to their fragile bond grew. Pride and frustration warred within him. He couldn't control the world, couldn't protect her from rumors, and yet he couldn't ignore the fear in her message. Lucy, pacing the small apartment, struggled with a tidal wave of conflicting emotions. Fear, betrayal, confusion, and sorrow collided. Her mind raced. All this time, was it just an illusion? Did he really care? Or was it just part of his world? Am I just another headline? Her baby whimpered, breaking through the fog of her panic. She knelt beside him, cradling him to her chest, tears streaming down her face. I can't let him hurt me. I won't, she whispered, though her voice was thick with sorrow. Raphael, pacing his office, felt helpless. He drafted message after message, none of them sufficient to undo the misunderstanding. He wanted to scream, to tell her everything, to bring her to him and explain, but the timing, the optics, the interference of the world, made it impossible. Finally, he called, but Lucy didn't answer. She didn't want to hear him. Not until she was sure she could separate truth from lies, hope from deception. Days passed with no contact. The tension, unspoken and heavy, lingered in both their hearts. Lucy withdrew into her routines, her pride and fear erecting invisible walls. Raphael, though surrounded by wealth and influence, felt powerless in the face of emotional distance. He realized for the first time that no money, no power, no status could bridge the gap between mistrust and understanding. It could only be built slowly, carefully, with patience and honesty. Late one night, Raphael sat alone in his penthouse, staring out at the city lights. He thought of Lucy, her laugh, her courage, her vulnerability. He knew the connection they had formed was real, yet fragile. And now, it teetered on the edge of ruin, threatened by misunderstanding, timing, and fear. The shatter point came not with words, but with silence. Days of unanswered messages and missed calls left both wounded. Lucy, fearing betrayal, questioned whether love or trust was worth the risk. Raphael, aching to reach her, realized he had to wait. Not to surrender, but to show that the bond they shared was stronger than fear, rumors, or distance. In the quiet, they both felt the sting of potential loss, their first real taste of heartbreak. The world had intruded upon their fragile sanctuary, leaving them alone, uncertain, and desperate to reclaim what had been broken. Speech balloon. Have you ever misjudged someone because of rumors or assumptions? Share your story below. The city was quiet that night, the hum of distant traffic a faint backdrop to the storm brewing in both Lucy and Raphael's hearts. After days of silence, each had retreated into their own worlds, wrestling with the tension, fear, and vulnerability that had defined the past week. Lucy sat on the edge of her bed, the baby sleeping soundly beside her, cocooned in soft blankets. She held her phone, staring at Raphael's unread messages, the drafts she had written and deleted, the questions she couldn't ask out loud. The emotions inside her churned, fear, hurt, pride, hope, and longing all tangled together. Could I really trust him? After everything, after the headlines, after the silence, could I allow myself to feel again? She thought. She traced her fingers over the edge of the crib, feeling the warmth of her baby, the weight of responsibility pressing down on her. Love had always been cautious for her, but something about Raphael had stirred something dormant. Hope, connection, the possibility that life could hold more than struggle and survival. Far across the city, Raphael stood by the window of his penthouse, gazing at the glittering skyline. The silence of his luxurious world pressed against him, heavier than any boardroom challenge or financial decision he had ever faced. I could reach out, he muttered under his breath, fingers hovering over his phone. I could try to explain. But what if she doesn't answer? What if I've already lost her? He clenched his fists. The powerless ache in his chest was unfamiliar. Wealth and status could not buy connection. And here he was, stripped of all control, dependent on trust, a fragile, elusive thing he had never mastered. Both of them, separated by distance yet bound by the threads of their emotional connection, were confronted with the same choice: retreat into fear and pride, or risk vulnerability and reach for love. Lucy's heart ached as she reflected on Raphael's words, the gentleness, the care, the recognition of her struggles and her courage. Every memory of their moments together, the quiet cafe, the park, the small smiles, the fleeting touches, played like a film in her mind. Was this really all real? Or just kindness I misread? Her fingers hovered over the phone. The choice was terrifying but necessary. Raphael, meanwhile, composed a message over and over, deleting it again and again. He knew that one wrong word could push her further away. And yet he couldn't remain silent any longer. Lucy, he finally typed. I don't know what the world has shown you or what fears you carry, but I need you to know this. Everything I felt for you, every moment, every thought, is real. I am here, and I want to be here for you, for him, for us. Please, let me try. Lucy read the message, her chest tightening. Her fingers trembled as tears blurred her vision. The baby stirred, reaching tiny hands upward, and she felt the delicate reminder of why trust and courage mattered. In that instant, she realized that fear had almost cost her a connection that could change her life, that could bring joy, support, and love in a way she had never imagined. She typed back, slowly, deliberately. Raphael, I was scared. I still am. But I see you. I see what you're offering. And I want to try too. The weight in both their chests lifted slightly, replaced with anticipation, relief, and a fragile, glowing hope. The decision had been made. Vulnerability had won over fear. Pride had been set aside for the possibility of love. Raphael exhaled, a smile tugging at his lips. He immediately called, and Lucy answered after one nervous breath. The sound of each other's voices, finally unmediated by texts or distance, was a balm to their frayed hearts. I won't let you down, he said softly, his voice steady despite the emotion. I know, Lucy replied, her own voice quivering. And I won't run away either. In that quiet exchange, a bridge formed, stronger, warmer, and more enduring than any fear, rumor, or misunderstanding. Both had chosen to face vulnerability, to step into the unknown together, and to trust in the bond that had grown despite distance, silence, and uncertainty. The night wrapped around them like a promise. The choice had been made, and with it came a sense of peace, anticipation, and the first true step toward love at last. Speech balloon, have you ever faced a choice between fear and love? What would you do? Share below. The morning sunlight spilled across the city, casting golden streaks into Lucy's modest apartment. The world outside moved in its usual rush, but inside, a sense of calm settled over her. Today felt different, lighter, warmer, more hopeful. She cradled her baby, brushing a strand of hair from his face, and felt a quiet thrill of anticipation. Her phone buzzed. One message. Her heart raced before she even saw the screen. It was Raphael. I'm outside. Can I come in? Lucy's breath caught. She hesitated only a second before replying, yes. Moments later, the doorbell rang. She opened the door to find Raphael standing there, holding nothing but a small bag of groceries and a gentle smile. His presence was calm, grounding, and somehow familiar, like coming home after a long journey. Hi, he said softly. Hi, she replied, her own voice tinged with nervous excitement. They stood for a heartbeat, taking in each other fully. No barriers, no screens, no messages. Just presence, eyes locked, hearts quietly pounding. Then, in a simple, deliberate gesture, Raphael knelt to greet the baby, who responded with coos and a tiny grasp of his finger. He's perfect, Raphael whispered, eyes softening as he looked up at Lucy. He is, she said, a smile breaking across her face, a tear glinting at the corner of her eye. And I think I'm ready to let someone in too. Raphael reached out slowly, taking her hand in his. There was no rush, no grand gesture, just the quiet intimacy of two people ready to share a life, ready to trust and ready to love. Lucy, he said gently, I promise to be here, not just for today, not just for moments like this, but always. For you, for him, for us. Her lips curved into a soft, grateful smile. I believe you and I want to try too. For us. The baby cooed, wrapping his tiny hands around Lucy's finger. Raphael's hand moved to gently brush hers, forming a circle of warmth, connection, and promise. The moment was quiet, yet it carried the weight of every struggle, every fear, every longing they had faced. It was the culmination of trust, vulnerability, and choice, their bond cemented in love at last. In the following weeks, Lucy and Raphael spent time slowly integrating their lives. Weekends at the park, quiet dinners, shared laughter, and tender conversations became the rhythm of their growing love. They were careful, mindful of each other's vulnerabilities, yet fearless in their willingness to embrace connection. Raphael introduced small joys, an unexpected delivery of baby toys, a quiet night under city lights, moments of laughter and teasing. Never overpowering, always tender. Lucy, in turn, shared the rhythms of her life, the challenges and triumphs of motherhood, allowing Raphael to witness both her strength and tenderness. One evening, As they sat watching the sun dip below the skyline, Lucy leaned into Raphael's shoulder. "I never imagined life could feel like this," she whispered. "Neither did I," he replied, wrapping his arm around her. "But I'm glad we took the risk. I'm glad we chose each other." The baby stirred between them, tiny fingers grasping, cooing softly. In that moment, the world felt whole, as if every challenge, every fear, and every moment of hesitation had led them here, together, stronger, and in love. As night fell, the city lights reflected in their eyes, Raphael whispered, "Love at last, Lucy. Unexpected, but perfect." Lucy smiled, tears glistening, heart full. "Yes, perfect." The story closed with the quiet magic of a family united, a bond tested and strengthened by trials, and love realized not in grandeur, but in the tender, everyday acts of trust, presence, and care. They had found each other, not by accident, but by courage, vulnerability, and the choice to embrace love when it appeared unexpectedly. Speech balloon. Have you ever taken a risk for love and found it worth it? Share your story below. Thank you so much for watching this story all the way to the end. Your time, your support, and your presence here mean more than words can say. If this story touched your heart, inspired you, or kept you watching, please make sure to subscribe to the channel for more emotional stories like this one. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell. That way, you'll never miss a new upload. Until next time, stay blessed, stay strong, and keep believing in love. See you in the next story.